Few things are more unsettling than a craving resurfacing months or even years after you thought a habit was gone. It feels unfair, almost supernatural, like the brain resurrected something that should have stayed buried. But nothing mystical is happening. What you are encountering is a basic rule of neural biology. Circuits rarely die, they get outcompeted. Recovery doesn't erase the past. Old habit pathways decay when they are not used, but the brain is conservative. It weakens connections, trims branches, lowers sensitivity, but it almost never presses delete. What is left behind is a dormant structure, quiet but intact, waiting to see if conditions ever justify reactivation. When a habit is no longer practiced, synapses lose strength, receptors downregulate, dendritic spines shrink, microglia prune unused branches, firing thresholds rise. But the network itself remains. The impulse pathway becomes inactive, not erased. Like an abandoned railway line rusting under weeds. Most days you don't notice it exists. Under the right conditions, though, it can still hum. This persistence happens because the brain stores learned patterns as engrams, distributed networks encoding habit, emotions, and predictions. Engrams don't vanish when they are ignored. They become harder to activate. Their thresholds rise, their signals weaken, but they remain part of the brain's archive. Under certain conditions, those thresholds can temporarily drop. Stress, strong emotion, familiar environments, sensory cues, psychological states, as an example, fatigue, hunger, illness, you name it. When that happens, the enneagram doesn't just remind you of the habit, it recreates the feeling of the craving. The body remembers before the mind can explain. Cues are especially powerful because of dopamine. Addictive behaviors wire dense cue reward associations into the dopamine system. Over time, the cue itself, before any action occurs, begins triggering a dopamine prediction signal. This signal is not pleasure, it's preparation. The brain simply asks, is this where we usually run that old program? That is why the environment is a very important aspect when changing behaviors and when you're changing your personality or you're changing your mindset. These cues can be subtle. A certain time of the day, a location, a smell or sound, a person, a mood, even a posture or internal sensation or an image. When encountered, dopamine neurons may briefly fire, reviving the urge circuit, not because you want the habit, but because the brain is checking whether it's still relevant. It's a prediction probe, not a command. Stress amplifies this effect dramatically. Under calm conditions, the prefrontal cortex keeps the old habit circuit suppressed. Inhibition is strong. Alternatives are easy to access, but stress changes the balance fast. Cortisol weakens prefrontal inhibition, while the amygdala grows louder. The brain shifts into survival mode, and in survival mode, the body, or the mind, prefers speed over nuance. In that state, inhibitory control weakens, emotional urgency increases, old efficient pathways activate more easily, high effort regulation becomes costly. Stress tells the brain, use what worked before. Unfortunately, what worked before is often the addictive behavior. This is why cravings feel like ambushes during hard moments. They are not relapses in progress. They are fallback systems briefly coming online. The deeper reason cravings linger is that the brain is a prediction machine, not a deletion machine. Its primary job is to anticipate outcomes based on past experience. Addictive behaviors are extremely predictable. Fast relief, strong dopamine, reliable effects. From the brain's perspective, that is valuable data. It keeps the wiring around just in case. Even when you don't want it, The brain quietly thinks, we might need this someday. That is why cravings feel like echoes instead of temptations. They are memory-based predictions, testing relevance. The hopeful side of the story is competition. You don't need to erase the old circuitry. You need to ensure the new pathways fire more easily, more often, and across more contexts. When a replacement habit becomes automatic, emotionally rewarding, and integrated into identity, the old circuits get drowned out. Over time, new habits gain speed and efficiency. Inhibitory control activates earlier. Cues lose emotional charge. Dopamine sensitivity normalizes. The old pathway becomes increasingly quiet. Cravings don't disappear overnight. They fade in intensity, frequency, and duration. They become easier to ignore, not because the old circuit is gone, but because it no longer wins the neural election. Eventually, firing the old pattern feels unnatural, like trying to walk a trail that has been reclaimed by forest. The pathway technically exists, but using it takes effort, and nothing invites you there anymore. The key idea is this: cravings returning after long periods of abstinence is not failure. It is the brief reactivation of a weakened circuit under specific conditions. Recovery is not about eliminating that circuit, it's about making it irrelevant. When the brain learns through repetition, safety, and reward that newer patterns work better, the old ones fade into background noise, and what once felt like a hunting becomes a quiet reminder of how far the wiring has shifted.